Hey there, it's Rusty Nelson, your college art professor, and it's watercolor day. So I'm back in the studio after a 2-week hiatus, so hopefully I'll be able to get some new tutorials and everything out there for everybody. And today, like I said, is watercolor day, and we're working on a seascape, actually kind of a beach scene with a rowboat in it. Yeah, I know it's kind of strange for a landlocked Kansas, Missouri Midwesterner to be doing, but I think it's a pretty cool looking subject matter. So as I was prepping my board with the image that I was going to work with, I was trying to find the actual image on Pinterest, and I can't find it. So I do have a printout of it, so I'm not sure where I found this originally, and I got to looking a little more carefully at it, and it's actually artwork. So we're going to be doing a derivative of some artwork of this scene. So let's take a look at it. All right, so this is the scene right here, and I'm thinking it's artwork. It's a very nice piece. I can see a signature right down here in the corner, so I'm thinking this is artwork rather than a photograph. But it's a really pretty cool scene, and that's what we're going to be working with. All right, so here is my sketch. I'm working with a 300-pound Arches watercolor paper. I've got the sketch already made. I sketched it freehand, so my sketch is not quite at the same angle as the reference. And we got this big area to focus on with the sky, simple color palette, and we should be able to get this going. So let's get started. I'm going to try to keep my big fat head out of the scene. And again, I'm going to lay in and block in the sky first. And I'm going to mix up some phthalo blue, if I can get it going here. And I want a fairly thick mixture. I want some saturation in this. So there we go. Get some good colors. Looks like I need to swap out, clean out my watercolors. Are getting a little grainy. So that can be a problem. But it's nice saturation. Let's just keep working here until I get those grains diluted and absorbed. There we go. Nice phthalo blue. Could even throw a little bit of the cerulean blue in that. And you can see I've really got a really nice saturated color happening there. So I'm just trying not to rush everything. Just get it. My table's at an angle, so everything's draining and puddling towards the lower portion of my palette. I'm working with my big color palette with either, I think I have a mixture of Daniel Smith colors and Winsor Newtons on my ceramic palette. All right, so there we go. Let's see here. What else do I need to do? I'm trying to decide if I want to, and I don't think I do. I think I'm going to go after it with a big brush. I have a 2-inch brush, 2-inch flat wash brush, good saturated colors, and I'm going to come in initially with a lot of pigment, wet on dry. So we'll just come in here and just really come after that sky. Get it on there, get it wet, get it damp. There we go. And we can really start playing around. And now I'm going to start working in a little more water and softening edges. All right, now more water. I'm just going to keep pulling it down and diluting and thinning it out. Unload that brush even more. There we go. There we go. Now we're starting to get a nice gradient. I want to come right down to that shoreline, actually the horizon line. Uh-oh, about lost my, there we go. So I'm just going to punch it across right along there, like that. There we go. Work around the boat. There we go. trying very hard to keep my head out of the video. All right, so we have an interesting sky just by simply starting with saturated color and just working it down. For some reason, my paper has a little scuff in it. I'm going to try to ignore it. I want to mess with it, but I'm not going to. I got a lot of peekaboos in the sky. I like that. It kind of creates a nice effect. And we're going to just let that kind of be. I'm letting it dry just a little bit, and I'm going to come in with a smaller brush, maybe a number 5 around. And I'm going to mix a little more of a ultramarine into the color for the ocean. All right, so I got a fairly nice looking horizon line ready to go. Good saturated color. Again, it's going to be very saturated right at the top portion. I'm looking here. It's feeling pretty good. I'm going to come in and I'm going to come across and try to get a nice saturated level. And I got a little bit of a damp spot right there. All right, I'll pick it up right over here. It's going to stay damp on me. So I'm going to put the saturation right on the horizon line. Like I said, some of it's still a little damp, so I'm going to get a little bit of a fuzzy edge right there. All right, trying to keep it as level as possible. All right, try to come right along the edge of that boat. All right, I'm going to unload it, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to just soften it out. Pull it down, pull it down. Try to work in layers. Okay, again, that good paper stays wet, so I'm really able to come back in and reactivate and pull these things down. There we go. Come right down here along the shoreline. I'm going to try to keep a couple peekaboos right along in here, right down along to the shoreline, just like that. All right, cool. All right. And then I'm going to clean a spot off. Again, I'm resisting any urge to touch this up here. The ocean's looking pretty good. I'll be able to come back in. I think I'll need to add a little more density to it, but it needs to dry. But I don't mind that feathering that's going on right there. I'll come back in and address that. That's a nice sharp edge right there. Is it too sharp? I don't know. Let's go see. Let's see if we can soften it a little bit. Can we? Yeah, we can soften it a little bit. All right, cool. And we can deal with all of that later on. If that still bothers me, I can soften it out. I can soften it out. All right, but it's a nice interaction. So once it's really dry, I can come in with a really sharp touch of the phthalo blue and the ultramarine blue. So, all right. All right, now I'm going to get a spot cleaned off on my palette because I want to switch over and have the warmer colors for the foreground. Foreground is going to be a little darker right up in this area. We got a nice light highlight foamy white edge right here. I'm going to try to protect. And in this case, I'm going to work with my mop. I want a little more of a ability to bring in a lot of pigment. We'll start out with a little bit. That's way too much oversaturated. I want to get a little bit of burnt sienna in that. All right. And I think I even need a little more of a yellow. Let's get some yellow ochre in that. There we go. All right, so this is thin. It's going to be very thin, but it's a warm earth tone color. So we got a little sepia, a little burnt sienna, and then some yellow ochre in that. And we'll come in here and come right along up here. We're going to try to keep a nice little uneven beach line where the waves have come in, right like that. Come back over here as well and do the same thing. All right. And I'm going to throw it in there just a little deeper. There we go. All right, then I'm going to unload my brush. And we're going to pull that pigment down in here, all right? So just real quick, pulling it down, getting that paper wet. I am blocking around the boat a little bit. All right, it's lighter. Here we go. And I'm dipping into my bluish colored water, so I'm getting a slight cool tint to the wash. I'm just going to add a little more color variation and variety. There we go. I'll throw a little more right in that corner. There, right through there. All right, so we got some nice variety and variation to the foreground. It's very damp. I'm going to just let it be for a few moments and let it dry. All right, so I have done the color blocking on the sky, kind of got some nice color interactions, just letting the watercolor do its thing in the sky. Blocked in the horizon line where it meets the sky, and then also the beach where it meets the edge and the shoreline of the water. So we kind of blocked that in real quick. Everything's kind of drying right now. Too wet to really do a whole lot. I don't want to mess with the boat until the foreground dries a little more. We will get started on phase 2 and we'll start blocking in the boat and then start finding all the textures and some of the definition on the shoreline, horizon lines, and things like that. So hang on, let's let it dry. Let's be patient. This is the hard part. I know I get a lot of comments from people that they mention that, you know, waiting for it to dry is one of the harder things that they have to learn to do. So we'll be right back. All right, everything's dried. I still feel just a bit of moisture on the foreground, but I think we can go ahead and start blocking in and adding some of the color onto the boat and maybe a little more information with some dry brush work on the foreground where the sand and everything is, and let all that dry, and then we can come after stage 3 and we'll start adding in all the contrast, structure, and detail on the boat, get those oars, get that nice looking shadow painted in, and I think, boom, we're going to be done pretty quick. So let's get started. Definitely feel a little moisture, not a whole lot. I'm going to come down to a number 5. This must be a number 6. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to work a little more yellow ochre into the color here. Okay, so it's a little more yellowish instead of brownish, and because I'm seeing a lot of it maybe right up in through here and through this portion of the boat, and I'm just going to pop it in there, thin it out. There we go. We'll throw a little bit of an undercolor right in through here, and it's going to have some right up here. It's just an under the surface yellow that we'll be working with right in through here. There's not a lot of color. It's a very monochromish color for the boat. And then I'm going to throw a little more of a blue right here on this paddle, right down through here, and maybe even on the shadow side of it. Okay, I'll soften it out, and then we'll grab that yellow. I'm going to throw it right down here on the bottom edge of that oar. Right like that. Cool. And as that's drying, I'm going to grab some of that initial color right here, thin it out, unload my brush, and I'm just going to come in. I'm going to do some dry brush right across the surface of the sand, just to get a little texture. A little more color complexities right in there. Again, it's fairly dry. It shouldn't, and if it looks too sharp, I'll just come in and hit it with some water. So I just want a little bit of that texture from the watercolor paper. And this Arch paper has a really lovely texture to be able to do these kind of things, more so than the student grade, the Canson stuff. All right, so I'm going to throw a little more of it right around this boat. Okay, I'm going to lead it away. I'm going to throw a little bit right up in here. Cool. And bring it right in through here as well. Just some dry brush, textural dry brush. And if that doesn't make me feel happy enough, I'm going to grab even a smaller brush, as the number 3 brush, round, and I'm just going to kind of hit it and splatter it a little bit with some dark splatters. All right, irregular, random type things. I'm kind of blocking the splatters. I'm getting a little bit of it up in the sky, but that just teaches you acceptance. Don't worry about it. Don't think you have to fix every little flaw. All right, so we've got that blocked in pretty nicely. I'm going to grab one more smaller brush. I'm coming down to a number 1 brush, and I'm going to get some of that some ultramarine. I'll mix that up. I'll get a little smidge more of that ultramarine and phthalo blue right there. All right, and I'm going to come after that horizon line. I just want it to be a little bit sharper. I'll try to do this without getting my big fat head in the way, and try to keep it halfway level. We don't want to see the curvature of the earth here. All right, so I'm just popping a little sharper edge right in here. Drag it across. Again, I'm not going for a uniform, regular line. I'm actually drawing and painting with line here. But I want an irregular, a broken edge, and make it read as if it's in the distance. All right, so we got a little sharper edge right there, and we're going to do a similar thing right here with the darker brown. Let me get a little more of the sepia in there. It's still fairly thin. It's a tea mixture. All right, I'm just going to do a real similar touch right up in here, break it up, irregular marks, putting that dark right against the light, and I can see pencil marks in there, and as soon as I'm done with this piece, I'll come in and erase a lot of that. And so these edges are a little too harsh, so I'm going to pull the back end, make it a little softer. There we go. I want the darker edge on the upper portion of it. We'll do the same thing over here. Throw a little bit right up in there. There we go. All right. Soften the back side of that line that I just painted. All right, so now I'm going to come in, I'm going to grab that blue, and throw a little brown in it, so it becomes more of a neutral, cool neutral. And I'm going to come in, let me get a little bigger brush. Get that cool neutral. I'm going to come in, I'm going to paint the shadow side of the boat right here. So just throw that blue right along in here. Nice cool shadow with some modulation in it. All right, I'm even going to pull that out. I'm going to lose the edge. I'm going to pull it on out into the shadow. Okay. There we go. And we got a lovely shadow right up in here. Do the same thing. Pull it up. And then we'll come along that edge. The top portion of the boat has a nice highlight on it. So I'm just going to come down and interact with it right down there to the seat in the boat. Nice dark, cool color. Just drop it in there. Keep working it. Okay. It's going to come right up along this edge right here. All right. I'm going to unload my brush and then pull that color up along the edge right up in here. All right. All right. And there's a nice shadow line on the interior of the boat right in here. We'll just come in and catch all of those. Interact with the spars of the interior. Here we go. And we'll do another one. I see another one. In the photograph, my drawing doesn't have it as well, but we can fake it. All right, we'll throw it right in here. There we go. And we'll throw a little bit right up under here. Right along that seat. All right, cool. Another shadow line. And again, this is not going to be the densest part of it, but I'm going to catch it right along down here along the underneath side as it bows out and around and comes up like that. All right, cool. We're getting a nice color on it. I'm going to intensify this blue. This is the shadow of the oar on the surface. And then I'm going to soften it up. I'm going to just kind of pull it out like that. There we go. Cool. So we've really blocked this in. Looks pretty good so far. I'm going to get just a little bit of a hotter color right there. I'm going to punch it up right in through here and maybe right at the very lower portions. And right up, maybe right up in through here just a bit. Right along that edge. All right, so also I need to get that shadow on this side, the underneath side of the boat, and get that irregular edge. I'm going to pull it down just a little further, and then we'll get this irregular edge. Happens right there. Again, I'm just working with the cool neutral, bluish neutral right in through here. It comes right along the edge of the boat. I'm just going to highlight. I want to get a little definition right there. All right. Throw a little more of a darker. I'm going to throw it right at this edge right here. There we go. Cool. So this is still essentially stage 2. Just throwing a little definition right there. Again, I want to get that arc on that upper lip of the boat. And then I'm going to throw a little of it out this direction. All right, unload my brush, soften it up a little bit. And then we'll do some of that right up in here. We'll deal with textures and stuff in our next phase. So, all right, I'm going to grab my smaller brush, get a little darker color. Let me grab some more of that sepia, just a denser mixture of it. Get a little more ultramarine in there. The classic combination, your burnt siennas, burnt umbers, or your sepias mixed with your burnt umber or your phthalo blues give you a really nice dark color. Feeling around, and I'm just going to paint a little bit on this ore. All right, so I'm just going to get the shadow side of the ore going. Across that, all of that right there. You can make it read right. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be exact. And then I'm going to come right down here and we're going to pull that shadow. It's a very dark shadow. We're going to pull it right up to that spot right up in here. And we're going to throw it right on that. There we go. All right. So yeah, we're starting to build the complexities into it. We are moving into the little more of the structure and the little more of the detail that this is needing. Got that nice dark for contrasts. And I'm going to just come in and really start building structure, suggested detail. There we go. There we go. Cool. And all of that contrast is really starting to work in our favor. Throw that nice dark structural piece right there. Again, I'm working thicker and thicker mixtures. I'm mixing up to I'm into a cream milk stage at this point, and really just bouncing around and adding in some of those details. The irregular marks, remember you practiced those in previous videos where the irregular marks are really just for your eye, patterns for your eyes to make their own details from. All right, I'm going to get a darker. There we go. as well. I'm going to throw, I got a nice little oar lock right there. All right, so we'll just keep building up, adding details in, those suggested shapes. There we go. We even have, you know, some, I'm going to unload my brush. I put a lot of pigment in. I'm just going to scrub some dry brush on it. That worked nicely. And I think, oh, that worked so well there. I'm just going to scrub a little bit of it across here as well for that surface smut and smudge. Unload, load it up, unload. I'll throw a little more of it up here. This is working nicely. All right. All right. Cool. So that's coming along nicely. And I'm still working with my #1 brush. I'm just going to come in. I'm going to just accentuate some of the contour edges right here. Just paint a little more structure right there. We'll get another oar lock painted. Come around. And then we'll come after some more of the details. Get a little more of a structure, board structure right here. There we go. These are all just organic, irregular marks, trying to be believable to the viewer's eye. There we go. Cool. I'm going to throw a little more of an intense dark blue. Come on, if I can get the right intensity. There we go. All right, I'm going to throw a little more of that right up in here. Right there. And we'll pull it down. We're going to do some suggestive leading marks and shapes. Same thing in here. We'll pull some of these lower structural frame elements in this shadow area right here, and then that's going to help define the top edge of the boat, that lip. All right, there we go. All right, I'm going to throw, not that it's in the artwork, the reference, but I just feel like the lower portion of that boat, I want to throw a little red into that. That's actually a painted shape right in there. I'm just going to throw some of that into that just for the warmth of the color that was painted there. I'll throw a little on that side as well. And then I'm going to unload my brush, and we'll just feather it a little bit too, just to get a hint of that red into some of the highlight areas. There we go. All right, I'm going to come back over, get a little more density on that ore right there. I'll get a little more on the shadow of it coming down onto the surface. Throw a little bit across it like that. And then there was a couple of I'm going to throw some shadows from some of the rocks that are on the beach onto this, just like that. And now get a little darker darks. I'm going to throw that right in through here. And right under here. There we go. Get that ore shadow a little better there. And there we go. That's starting to read nicely. And I'm going to throw up just a little bit of a definition line right on this side of it. Just give that ore just a little more definition. And I'm going to just soften that back side of it up. Pull it down. There it is. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to pull this dark edge out. Just, it needs to come out beyond the edge of the side of the boat. Cool. All right. And last but not least, I'm going to define this edge back up here. I got an irregular edge from the sky. Got some fun things happening. There we go. So when I erase the pencil lines, that should really read nicely. So I'm going to load my brush. I'm going to put a little color, maybe this reddish brownish color right here. I'm just going to stroke it across the top right there. And I'm going to put a bit of it right along the edge right there. So, and there we go. That's looking pretty good. All right, and I'm going to do just a little bit more on some dry brush. I'm going to just throw a little more dry brush right in through here. And right up along the edge here a little more. Perfect. I'm coming in, I'm mixing up a little Pro White, mainly because I want to hit a couple of highlights on spots where I lost them. And it would be right along in here. I'm going to hit it right in here, right, pull it down. I think that's going to give it a nice little pop right there. And then even right over here, I want to create a little more of an arcing shape right there. And I'm going to hit just a little more highlight right up here. And right there on the top edge of the ore, I'm going to get a very thick mixture of Pro White. And I'm going to hit that top edge right up here. And if this is too thick, a thick of a line, I could always come in with a hairline brush and do it, but I think that worked fine. I'm going to throw a little bit of a highlight right here, and maybe right up along the edge right there. So there we go. I think it's coming along. Just hit a little bit right there on that edge. There we go. Right there on this seat. Hopefully my big fat head isn't in the way. There we go. Perfect. All right. Okay, that's it. A quick little watercolor study, a bigger painting. Worked with bigger brushes this time, so a lot of saturated color, simple color palette, and it's a very straightforward little piece that I think you can do fairly quickly. So limit your color palette, work with big brushes, get some good paper, and have fun with this and see where it'll go. So, hey, I hope you got some value out of this little tutorial, and if you did, give me a like and a subscribe. I really do appreciate it. I really like the comments too, so drop me some comments. You guys are giving me a lot of really good ideas when you do. Head over to my video description. I have a ton of links and affiliate links, things you can buy, equipment, supplies, tools. So if you're really into figure drawing, I have some links in the video description over to my website for some Andrew Loomis drawing for all it's worth, the figure drawing for all it's worth, and drawing heads and hands. Download that. I have a Bridgman download as well. And if you think I'm doing anything on this channel that you would like to financially support and keep me going, encouraged, and able to produce these videos, head into my Patreon channel and give me a $5 a month membership. That helps immensely, keeps me going, keeps me encouraged. I'm making progress. So it's been a good 7 months into 2025 so far, even with some of the pitfalls and the setbacks that I've had. But I do feel like I'm making some progress. So I do appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.